I'm not sure if you've heard, but the reviews for the new Borderlands movie are horrible. It has a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes, and this bummed me out because I've played the Borderlands games and I always root for video game adaptations. So I put this to the test and I went to see the very first showing of Borderlands at my local theater, and it's not that bad. I don't know if I just went in with bottom of the gutter level expectations, but I was pleasantly surprised. But let me make something clear. This is not a good movie. It's just better than the reviews are making it out to be. I'll start with the humor because I think that's what most people are upset about. A lot of this movie is pretty cringy, and most of that is due to Tiny Tina. The writers of this movie must have thought that Tiny Tina would be the funniest character ever put on screen because they gave Ariana Greenblatt more comedic lines to say than they gave to Kevin Hart. More than about every other character combined, really. So they really trusted her to bring the comedy to this movie. But unfortunately, a lot of this performance falls flat. Her character has all of the annoyingness from Tiny Tina in the game, but absolutely none of the charm. I don't really blame Ariana though, she was giving it her all. I think the writing for her character specifically is way too over the top, and we don't gain any sympathy for her character until way too late in the movie. So everything that she says feels like nails on a chalkboard. And I felt similarly about Jack Black's Claptrap. But in this case, I feel like the humor from him does at least work some of the time. There's this really funny bit with him that they keep playing on where Claptrap kind of hates the main character Lilith, but he's programmed to help her out, so he's always kind of rooting for her to die so that he can be free of her, and that genuinely worked. I think a lot of the comedy genuinely worked. But when it's bad, it falls so much lower than any of the high points get when it's good. So I feel like the movie is getting zero credit for its comedy when it at least should be getting some. Moving on, I alluded to this earlier, but I was so surprised because Kevin Hart basically plays the straight man in this movie alongside Cate Blanchett's character. Given that he's Kevin Hart, you'd think that he'd just be cracking quips all movie. But he really isn't. He's just kind of there, and I think he as a comedic actor could have been utilized a lot better. His character also has a very interesting backstory that I don't think they explored enough throughout the movie. But the character that does work most of the time was Cate Blanchett's Lilith. Cate Blanchett was just kind of acting circles around everyone throughout the entire movie, and you could tell that she was having fun with it. It gave me hints of Tom Hardy playing Venom, which is an equally bad movie that has a lot of people that love it. I don't know if Borderlands will get that same cult fan base, but I hope it does. Lilith is the character that we follow most throughout the movie. We see the world through her eyes. She feels like the main emotional draw of the movie, but she also has a few good lines thrown in here and there. Everyone in this movie assumes that she's a vault hunter because she's on Pandora, and this irks her for some reason, so she always ends up correcting them that she's a bounty hunter, as if that's any better. But she's the only character that has a real arc throughout the movie. There are two other main characters in the crew. One is Krieg, who is what they call in the Borderlands universe a psycho. Psychos are bandits that have this insane obsession with finding the vault. But Krieg is a good psycho, and he's just helping out. No, really, that's all his character does, just kind of help out and fight. Lastly, for the main team, we have Jamie Lee Curtis's Tannis. Her character is extremely awkward, which was an intentional choice. It's not like her performance was awkward at all. But she's not in the movie for as long as the others, so she doesn't detract from or add to the experience in any meaningful way. The villain, however, oh my god, maybe the most copy and paste villain I've ever seen. His name is Dukillion, I think, and he runs the Atlas Corporation. From all the quirky villains that the Borderlands games have given us, I don't know how we ended up with this guy. He just looks boring. There's absolutely no flair to his character at all. And this is coming from the same universe that brought us Handsome Jack, one of the best video game villains ever. So yeah, only some of the characters worked for me here, but it's enough to make the movie somewhat enjoyable. What doesn't need any caveats are the visuals. Coming from a world recently where half-baked CGI is the norm, this movie is actually stunning, and it replicates the game world of Borderlands really well. Pandora was desolate, it had these big rusty set pieces, and the psychos that were inhabiting the world felt authentic like they do in the game. I do wish we would have run into more bounty hunters trying to find the vault along the way. It felt like whenever the main characters were outside of the big city, the only people that existed in the world were them, their enemies, and the psychos. This world didn't feel as populated with interesting characters as the games do, but I do think for the most part that they nailed the visual storytelling. Another thing that I think was good and pretty overlooked was the plot of the movie. I think it's easy to get distracted from a plot when bad jokes are being thrown at you every 30 seconds, but the plot worked, and I'll stand on that. This isn't spoiling anything because it's from the trailers, but Tiny Tina is the only one that's able to open the vault. There's a special quality about her that makes her able to do this. And in the first scene of the movie, she's captured by Kevin Hart's character, Roland. The Atlas Corporation hires Cate Blanchett's Lilith to help track her down. So this invokes a chase to find her between the main crew and the enemies of the movie, the Atlas Corporation. The Atlas Corporation has more sinister reasons for wanting to open the vault, so this makes you root for our main heroes that are mainly guiding Tiny Tina's journey. So Lilith struggles with whether to stay loyal to her bounty or to side with Tiny Tina's captors. Along the way, there are some secrets that are uncovered about the vault, how it opens, and how that affects the crew. And I won't say any more because then we'd be verging on spoiler territory. But it's an interesting plot, and there's enough emotional moments in between all the poop jokes for it to be worth it. But even though it's interesting, it still wasn't written very well. Which is a shame because I feel like this movie could have been a lot better with just a few minor tweaks. For example, I won't spoil what it is, but there's a head-turning third act twist that comes out of nowhere. And when I say nowhere, I mean that it wasn't even hinted at the entire first 2/3 of the movie. For a twist to be pulled off effectively, there needs to be some tell, some rationale that's hidden in plain sight and makes sense after the fact. The twist in this movie is basically just like, let's change everything you know about this character and make them insanely powerful for no reason at a very convenient time. It does not work at all. But it could have. If they would have just peppered in some hints about this being a possibility, it would have went a long way. And the characters have multiple conversations about what could happen at this specific event, so it's not like the opportunity wasn't there. And there's other choices like this that really just make you scratch your head from time to time. This movie just feels like a series of bad decisions, but I promise you that it isn't completely hopeless. I genuinely think that if you're a fan of the games, it's at least worth watching. If you're not a fan of the games, I don't think there's much for you. But who knows? Go in with literally no expectations and you might enjoy yourself. I'm still gonna give this movie a bad score because again, it's not good. But I'm not gonna give it a literal 0% like some other critics out there. I think this movie comfortably sits in the 3 out of 10 to 4 out of 10 territory. And it could maybe even go up from there depending on how much alcohol you have. But what did you think about this movie? Are you trying to make the decision on whether you wanna see it or not? Have you already seen it and feel the same way? Let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. Thanks so much if you made it this far, and have a good day.